everybody, it's me, Laura, and today we're going to do my fall leaves, and I am super excited about this one. Oh my goodness, this is going to have a lot of fun. You guys are going to be able to make some really fun stuff for this fall. So right here, I'm bringing in my amazing mold putty. You can find this I found this one at Hobby Lobby, but you can find it at other craft stores as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this stuff out, and you don't really measure it, you sort of do a little bit. All you have to do is take half of one component, half of the yellow stuff, half of the white stuff, and mix them together until you get a nice yellow. Not marbleized, but a nice yellow. Once you have that, you're going to take some leaves. Yes, regular leaves from your backyard like I have right here. And right now, of course, with the leaves coming off the trees, this is a perfect time to go get a few and have some fun. So right here, again, mixing this together, it's going to be marbleized at first. Wait until it gets to be a nice, even yellow, and then lay this down on your work surface. Once you have this made up into that even yellow, you have literally right here, you've got less than 5 minutes to make your mold. So this stuff is very fast setting. Once you've got this together, I say get that mold made as soon as possible. So right here, I'm just spreading this out. I'm placing my leaf down on that yellow molding material. Once I have that down where I really like it, you're going to take your acrylic roller and you're going to roll right over this. Now, in my mind, I have some extra here. So I like to bring in either a needle tool or I'll bring in my X-Acto knife. Right here, I'm just defining up the line where that stem is because that's important for me. Once I have that though, I like to take my X-Acto knife or my blade. Just like I was saying, take your X-Acto knife or your blade, cut the extra part away, and then take one of your extra leaves and place it down in the extra part. To me, this makes that molding compound go further. Once I do that though, then I'm going to go ahead and let these leaves sit on this molding compound for about 5 minutes. Once that's done, I'm going to bring up the leaf. I should say, 5 to 10 minutes, around in there. But what I'm going to do here, and you can see it right here, look at those lines from the leaf that I had just made the mold of. That's wonderful. That's exactly what you want. And it's fairly thin, so you're not using up a ton of compound to create these. Again, I just decided, I found more leaves. I loved them. I thought, I want to make some more of these. And you're going to find that, I like this one. I like that one. You're going to be making more leaf molds than you probably expected to do. But have fun with this. I think you guys are going to love this. And once you have these, we could go ahead and make a ton of different leaves in polymer clay. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take our leaf mold, this one, the big one I had just made, and I'm using some of my baby powder here. You can use any kind of release agent. You can use water if you wish. The thing is, though, when you use the release agent, and the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, no, that wasn't really very good. It wasn't very successful because you're just patting it down. You're not going to be, I'm using my rolling pin a little bit, but I'm not putting a ton of pressure on it here. I mean, just a little bit, just so I could get it to kind of come down and grab up the lines in that mold. And then you're just going to peel off this particular mold from your clay. Now, if your clay is super soft, yeah, this is not going to work really good. You want your clay to be a little bit hard, okay? But once you have it done, then you're going to come in here, and wherever you have the little lines, come up to the edge or whatever, or they disappear, you're going to start cutting these little V marks, which are really just the jagged little areas off of your leaf. Now, I will say, when you go about doing this, you're not going to be, it's not going to be precision, right? You're just kind of, in some ways, you're almost guessing a little bit too, because these particular reliefs or these molds, they don't give you an exact line to just follow when it comes to creating exactly where you need to cut. You get some definite areas where, like, I'm coming up on an area here, you can see the outline. Yeah, I like to follow that, okay? But some areas you're not going to get a definite outline. So just use your imagination a little bit and start cutting your little jagged areas. If you want to, you could even, like, sometimes I'll say, okay, I don't want to have a jagged leaf, and I'll just go around the area where I like it best and create it the way I see it. Maybe I want more of a smooth line. Do that. But this one here, I just thought, no, we're just going to go ahead and create more of a jagged line, pretty much the way the leaf had been intended. Now we're coming up on the area where we've almost got this entire leaf cut out. And once we have it all entirely cut out, we're going to cut the stem on this. Now, I will make a little larger stem than intended. I mean, you saw the stem I got from this little leaf. It was very tiny. It's just a little line. Okay, I'm making it larger than that. I need to have that line because we're going to go ahead and put an eye pin behind that. You need to have a little room. So I suggest making a little bit larger stem than intended so that you can put that eye pin behind it when we go ahead and finish up each of these leaves that we are making. All right, this is my favorite part of the whole process. I love this part, yes! We are going to be bringing in our Pearl X powders, and I have my copper here. I'll be using my lavender, and I'll also be using my sapphire blue. Oh, and I'm bringing in some white. I didn't realize I missed that one, but guess what? Just a little bit of a white pearl too. Anyways, I'm just dabbing a little bit on this leaf all over the place, just randomly, whatever you can do. And I'll bring in the lavender here. I'll put that down as well. And when you do put down this powder on these, clay leaves, make sure you get the edges as well. So like where it drops off, where I had cut the, the definitive lines, make sure right around on those edges that you get the powder in those areas too. And this is why I'm using a paintbrush here, or I should say a dry paintbrush. You could even use a makeup brush, a really soft makeup brush, to put down the powders on these leaves. But yeah, just a little bit of a paintbrush to make sure it all goes down really nice. And then, like I said, goes into the crevices, you blow that off, and then you have your leaf done to the way you want it. Once I have that, I decided to make my stem just a little bit shorter, and this will help with that eye pin. Also, I brought in a knitting needle, and I thought I'm going to make a couple of holes, so this way then we can inset maybe possibly a couple of rhinestones. Now we're going to go ahead and do our second clay leaf, and I'm taking some of that scrap clay yet again. I'm placing it down on that mold. I'm going to lift the mold up once I'm not putting a ton of pressure on that rolling pin. Don't do that. Just a little bit of pressure, not a ton. And you're just going to go ahead and lift up your mold from the clay. Once you do this, then you're going to go ahead and use that X-Acto knife one more time to start cutting out the jagged areas on this second leaf. Now, if you wish to, I still went ahead and I added a whole bunch of little notched areas on this leaf. Sometimes though, I get impatient and I say, I don't want all of that. So if you don't feel like doing that, go ahead and cut more of a smooth line when you're cutting out these leaves. And just as long as you follow the basic outline of the leaf form itself, you'll be just fine. From here, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys watch my hands talk as I cut out the rest of this leaf and add in some of the powders. All right, now that I've got these powders really kind of going down, I've got some green in here this time around, and I'm going to add in a little bit of silver. But after that, I decided I wanted to play with my jewelry. I have some leftover, I have a lot of leftover, like scrap jewelry that I'm like, what do I do with this? And it just dawned on me, why don't I put this into my leaves? So I had some metal pieces. This fit beautifully. I couldn't have planned it better myself. I was like going, yes, that's great. And then I had another piece and I thought, I just took random pieces from different places and placed it all on this one leaf, and it made the design absolutely awesome. So go and check out any kind of scrap, old jewelry that you are not using, that you just want to go ahead and have some fun with. This is a perfect place to go ahead and do that. At this point, the bug had really bit me. So I really wanted to go ahead and create more of my leaves. And I had some of these smaller molds that I had done earlier. And I thought, let's go ahead and do up a few of these as well. So I'm taking one of these particular molds and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to peel it off. And look at the wonderful little vein work I get from that mold. This is a wonderful way to create your own leaf molds and do this time and time and time again. And again, I'm coming in, I'm going to go ahead and cut those little jagged areas. I'll bring in my Pearl X powders. I'll start to go ahead and put that on top of this scrap clay. And then, you know, it was just kind of that random thing of using the jewelry. I loved that aspect to this part. You know, I hadn't really, when I have made my fall leaves in the past, I never really used any of my scrap unused jewelry. And after doing that one, I was like, okay, guess what? All of my leaves are probably going to feature now a little random piece of scrap jewelry that I have just laying around. Since I made this particular little leaf, I decided I wanted to go ahead and make another one. You know, you never can just get one, right? You want to have a few more. So here I just decided to go ahead and create another little leaf. I'm going to cut it out. I'll throw some Pearl X powder on both of these now. And then once I do that, we're going to go ahead and use a little bit of that scrap jewelry that I was talking about earlier. So here I'm bringing in just, it was a single earring and it had a bunch of little parts and I thought this would be perfect to place on these tinier leaves. So make sure when you're going through and you're going to put some of that scrap jewelry on, make sure that it's about the right size for the leaf itself. You have to start, if you've got a tiny leaf, you need to look for tinier pieces of jewelry. And if you've got a bigger leaf, of course, you can use your bigger pieces to create to your heart's content. Now that we've made all the leaves that we really like, we're going to go ahead and take some black clay, and this was, I want to say, it was flattened out on a number 4 setting on my Atlas Post machine. And I'm cutting a nice straight line. I'm bringing in a silver eye pin, and I'm going to go ahead and curl it up into a hook. I'm going to cut off the extra end there, and I'm going to place the little loop part right over the edge of the top of that clay. I'm going to kind of press it down into the black, and then I'm going to take my leaf and I'm putting on a little bit of super glue here on the back side. I don't want this to come out, and so this will just help to ensure that even more so. I'll place that right over that eye pin, and then I'll bring in my needle tool as soon as I get done tapping it down with my X-Acto, and I'll start cutting out this leaf from the black slab. From here, we'll go ahead and I'm going to keep cutting out this particular leaf, and I'll cut out the black on my other leaves as well. Once I get that done, we'll go ahead and move on to how we're going to protect that Pearl X powder on the top of each of these leaves. I almost forgot here. I got to put in some rhinestones on this one particular leaf. So I just had some random rhinestones, a little bit of super glue, and each of those little holes that I had made with my knitting needle, and I'm just filling them in and just enjoying it. Okay, for me, there are two ways in which I can seal up my Pearl X powders, and one is using a water-based varnish, which I am doing right here. I'm taking a little bit of my varnish and I'm just sealing the one where I just put the rhinestones into it. Now, this varnish has a glossy kind of look to it, so it's not matte, but to me, it's not. I don't know. I don't think it really. What's the word here? I don't think it really makes the Pearl X powders shine. In other words, they don't really kind of jump out at you when it comes to the varnish. At least that's kind of how I see it. But it's a nice, easy, fast way to do it. It's also, out of the two, probably the more cost effective. Anyway, I'm bringing in my two smaller leaves and I'm bringing in my water-based varnish, and I'm going to put the varnish down on the one leaf, and then I'm going to start using the resin on the smaller leaf and on the other larger leaf. And we'll just do a little quick comparison at the end. So right here, I'm bringing in my resin and I'm putting a little bit of a dab on there. I'm going to use my toothpick to go ahead and move the resin around. I really suggest, and I didn't do it here, and I really need to, is you should wear a latex glove when you're around the resin. You don't want this stuff to get on your hands or on your skin. So make sure you go ahead and get yourself some latex gloves before you start putting resin on any of your clay items. Now that I've gotten this leaf almost completely covered with my resin, we're going to put this under my UV lamp. And I want to say that it's better if you go a little bit longer time. I want to say at least 3 to 5 minutes under a UV lamp when you're putting down that resin. I'm also coming in here now on my larger leaf. I'm spreading out more of that resin, and I want you guys to really look at this. You can see the Pearl X, but when you put the resin down, to me it just seems to magnify it more. It seems to show off the flashy part of the pearls that are on this leaf. So keep that in mind when you're using either varnish or the resin. The thing is, I like the varnish too. It's just my preference really does kind of lean towards the resin. The thing is, though, with resin, and this is something also that you need to keep in mind, if you are using white or some other kind of really light shade on your leaves, this stuff will yellow over time. It doesn't take much. It just that's the nature of resin. Whereas with the varnish, it probably won't yellow nearly as bad as your resin could. Okay, here all of our leaves are finished, and look at the resined ones against that varnish. You see, it does almost give it a matte look, doesn't it? That matte kind of, it does. I mean, it's supposed to be gloss, and it does glossy, but that varnish does not compare to the resin look at all. You really do get a more, I want to say, rich look with the resin than you would with your varnish. Now I'm bringing in my two smaller leaves, and again, that resin it just shines to me. I don't know why, but I just love the look better. Here's the other thing with the resin, just so you know, if you are working with darker colors, the resin, when it does yellow, it won't be nearly as evident as if you were using lighter colors. So this is the end result of creating my fall leaves in polymer clay. Please use this for study and reference. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'm always wondering what you're thinking. Otherwise, I am sending out my biggest hugs to each of you, and I hope you have a fantastic day.